What's good, powerful people? This is the Power Living with Purpose podcast with David C. Henderson, and this is the health tip of the week. Stop skipping students, part 1, the potential lifelong problems of students skipping grades. All right, so as we start a school, the health tip of the week is sponsored by American Health and Fitness Services Central Alabama area, which covers Auburn, Opelika, Tuskegee, Montgomery, Union Springs, Notasulga, Tallahassee, all points in between. All right, in-home and on-site personal training, personal diet planning or coaching, personal fitness coaching, group exercise classes for locations, and everything also offered virtually. All right, that's www.americanhealthfit.com, www.americanhealthfit.com. All right, and you'll see the link on there, or /334, americanhealthfit.com/334. All right, now, so as we start a new school year, I can only think about how many parents would be presented with the idea of their child being able to skip a grade, because the school has noted their academic ability seems to be far above the rest of their classmates. For parents of students in a private school, this could mean one less year of paying tuition, and maybe the motivation to skip could be financial. For parents of students in both private and public school, it would typically mean that their child would be heading to college 1 year sooner than normal and potentially be able to start their career 1 year earlier. All right, or 2 years if they skip 2 grades, but typically it's 1 grade. All right, while those are both factors, I honestly don't think that either one of those are the primary motivating factor, to be perfectly honest. And keep in mind, I am speaking as a skipped student. I skipped first grade. So I'm supposed to be class of 2000. I end up being class of 99. All right. So as a skipped student, I'm speaking from experience. All right. Now, and as well as others who I've known who were skipped students as well. All right. Now, I think the major reason that parents allow their children to skip a grade is actually because it looks good. You know, it sounds good. It kind of, would make it look like a super parent, make them look like a super parent among their friends, family, and society. And it's a reason to brag about a child. I'm pretty sure my parents were proud that, hey, he skipped a grade and all that. It sounds good. You would think it would be good, but it's not. And I'm going to continue to explain why. All right. So I think the motivating factor a lot of times is that the parents want to look good. It makes the parent, you would think it makes the parents look good. It does to if you don't know any better. And it's not the parents that don't know any better. It's the rest of the society who's like, oh yeah, you said your baby skipped a grade. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Believe me, it's terrible. It's not awesome at all. All right. So in a world and society that's all about keeping up with the Joneses, that badge of honor, my student skipped a grade, makes you feel proud and all that. But here's the thing. I can assure you it's a terrible idea. And unless it's like a super genius, or like the kid is like a super genius where they can go to college at like 12 or 13. And if they're going to skip 3 or 4 or 5 grades or something like that, okay, they're super genius. Okay, then that's different. That's a whole different story. But I still believe the negatives strongly outweigh the benefits. And here's why. First, let's look at it anatomically. All right, the prefrontal cortex of the brain doesn't even fully develop until age 25. So that means automatically teenagers and younger adults are already naturally prone to making less intelligent decisions before the age of 25. And every year of puberty is a big difference. All right, so instead of sending an 18-year-old off to college or a 19-year-old, which is the age they would normally be at, instead you're sending a 15, 16, or 17-year-old, depending on their birthday, depending on how many grades they skip. And that's just not a good idea. I'm sorry, it's not a good idea at all. As mature as they may seem, their brain is still not fully developed until 25, and every year before that is less and less and less. No matter how smart they are, their brain is still not fully developed into making the best decisions. All right, so another factor is ACEs, ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. research can show that these can cause lifelong mental trauma. ACEs not only affect the mental and social well-being of children during the school ages with Head Start in 12th grade, but they also affect performance and well-being later in college, in graduate school or professional school, in the workforce, and even in raising a family. Personally, I thought that when I was skipped in first grade, I didn't think it would make a difference until after a while, a couple years later, I started realizing like, wow, this ain't cool. I don't like this. But it was too late. I couldn't go back, and didn't want to repeat a grade. I say maybe after about the second year, maybe second or third grade, I was like, yeah, I don't really like this anymore. So, but it's too late. So the next 15 years of my life of school throughout, all the way through first grade through 12th grade, and then through college, 4 years of college, and then the other 11 years of school, I just never felt comfortable ever, completely. Maybe 80-90%, but never completely. All right, so this is number one. When you skip a child, it automatically creates a 1 to 2 year difference. Right now, last year I celebrated my 40th birthday. All my classmates were celebrating their 41st or 42nd birthday. They were doing their big 40th birthday like a year or two ago, and here I am finally coming along. Hey, it's my 40th birthday now. Like, wow, you just now getting to it. But anyway, so you 1 to 2 years between all of my classmates. Some of them 3 if you skipped, if you skipped a grade, and then somebody who flunked a grade, and who has a late birthday, they could be 3 years older in the same grade. All right, so this can be very awkward when it comes to the younger student in terms of bullying. I was bullied pretty much throughout my whole school time, up until the end. And also problems in illegal dating. All right, you're 12th grade going with the 9th grader, but y'all are only 1 year apart. It looks bad, but y'all are only 1 year apart if you're a skip student. And then as you get on into college and everything, you hit college, you're 15, 16, maybe 17 years old. You're not supposed to be legally dating 18 to 21 year olds, especially if you're 15 to 16. All right, I was 16 when I got to college. But anyway, so every year during number 2, every year from high school to Head Start, from Head Start to high school graduation, the differences become more and more dramatic. All right, while we might not be as worried about a 6-year-old first grader compared in there with 7 to 9 year olds, it's not as maybe it may not seem much of a difference then, but when they're 10 years old and their classmates are 11 to 13, that is an enormous difference, especially with the height difference, puberty. It's a big difference between a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old. All right, huge difference, boys and girls. All right, when the classmates get to be driving able to drive at 16 and you're only 14, you kind of look like you feel like you're missing out. All right. Lastly, number 3. Well, not lastly, but number 3 out of 4. Got one more. Most of the students who go off to college are normally age of 18 or 19, whereas a skip student is only 16, 17, or 15, 16, or 17. All right. So I just don't think that's the best environment for a 15, 16, or 17-year-old to be in college. You typically can go to college parties, the fraternity parties, sorority parties, and everything, even if it's not at a club. So you're a 15, 16, or 17-year-old there out there going to college parties instead of being in high school where you're supposed to be around that age. All right, now this is number 4. Okay. I also know someone who skipped 2 grades. I know some people who skipped 1 grade, and those people who skipped 2 grades. And were on the college campus at the age of 15. Number one, you can't even drive when you get there because you're 15. You're definitely too young to date anybody. And at the end of the day, all these problems are created for what? Why? So that you could be 1 year ahead, 1 year, or 2 years ahead in your career. At the end of a 40, most people work their career from their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. At the end of 40 years of work, 50 years of work, is 1 to 2 years going to make any difference whatsoever, regardless of what field you're in. After a 40-year career or 50-year career, is 1 to 2 years gonna make a difference? No, not at all. Not one benefit whatsoever. But what you did was during the kindergarten through 12th grade, you socially imbalanced, and college, and professional school, and maybe professional school, graduate school, you got all different ages mixed in. That's different. But typically kindergarten through college, everybody's pretty much the same age. For the most part, well, kindergarten through 12th they are, and then college you can have older students, but that doesn't help either because you're younger than everybody. So you're socially imbalancing the child the whole entire time. Some people may be able to deal with it, but it's not natural to be in the classroom with people who are 1 to 3 years older than you, maybe significantly bigger, maybe significantly more developed, physically, socially. All of that is just imbalanced. All right, so next week I'll talk about how skipping students can be a potential financial catastrophe in losing out on scholarship money. All right, once again, you're going to college a year early, but you're actually putting yourself in a position to lose tens of thousands, at this point, hundreds of thousands of dollars in academic scholarships. All right, and I also talk about in athletic scholarships, how you're also putting yourself at potential for you and your child to lose out on hundreds of thousands of dollars in academic and athletic scholarships. All right, so I'll talk about that next week. Until then, have a healthy, safe, blessed week. Stay powerful, my friends.